Well, we're coming up on the first year of the Nintendo Switch 2, and honestly, it's been quite of a trip.
I still remember that announcement back in early January. I was excited, obviously, but also kind of worried. At first, it did not look like a massive upgrade. The reveal showed off a bigger screen, new controller—
Wait. Stop the commentary. Was that just a new Mario Kart I saw? Alright, I'm in.
Wow, that was just completely rude, but I'll keep going. But I think that reaction sums up how a lot of people felt about the Switch 2 at first. It was not some wild new Nintendo gimmick. It was not a Wii remote. It was not the original Switch reveal where everyone immediately understood, oh, this is gonna be a little different. The Switch 2 felt more like Nintendo saying, here is the Switch, but better. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. Mouse mode is useful, the screen is better, the hardware is stronger, and the whole thing feels more refined. But because Nintendo has trained us to expect something weird, creative, or completely unexpected, some people were waiting for that big wow moment. Then, Mario Kart World showed up, and suddenly everyone remembered why they were excited. I remember the lead up to June 5th so clearly.
I was sitting in my community college classes, scrolling through Twitter endlessly, looking at every announcement, new speculation, and post. And finally, Nintendo announced a new Nintendo Direct. Everything we've been waiting for was finally gonna get revealed. All the speculation, everything, toss that in the trash. Nintendo's finally gonna announce the new Nintendo Switch 2. It ended up just being a regular Nintendo Direct though.
But it wasn't bad by any means. They showed Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven, which both looked amazing. But let's be real, everyone was waiting for that Switch 2 presentation. Then a week later, we finally got it. When the presentation finally happened, they showed off Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bananza, Kirby Air Riders, Switch 2 editions, GameCube on Switch Online, and a bunch of third-party games. It actually felt like Nintendo was ready for the next generation. But then came the price. The base console was announced at $450, and Nintendo fans were not exactly thrilled, myself included. The game prices though, that was a different situation. Mario Kart being $80 was the first real controversy of the Switch 2 era. I understand that prices go up with new generations, but skipping right past 70 and jumping to 80 felt wild. Nintendo did try to soften the blow with the Mario Kart World bundle, where you could basically get the game for $50 with the console, but that still left everyone wondering the same question. Is every major first-party Nintendo game going to be $80 now? Why is Donkey Kong 70 but Mario Kart 80? Are Mario games just more expensive now? Nobody really knew. Eventually, pre-orders opened. I remember pre-order night like it was yesterday. I was in a voice call with my friend, barely able to eat my Chipotle burrito because I was so nervous. The second pre-orders went live, it was chaos. Websites were crashing, Target was falling apart, Best Buy waited an extra hour for some reason, and then, out of nowhere, Walmart became the MVP.
Then, launch day finally came. My friend and I got in line, walked into Best Buy like we owned the place, made some awkward small talk with the people in line, and finally, the Switch 2 was ours. Here's a little photo for proof here. I know you all, couldn't believe me, but trust me, I was there day one. Never doubted Nintendo once.
Because the Switch 2 is a direct sequel to the Switch, transferring everything was pretty simple, and most of it can actually happen overnight. But the first thing I did before that was play Mario Kart World. I remember it being around 11 PM when I played it for the first time. A brand new Mario Kart, finally, the first completely new one since the Wii U era. And seeing it in 4K with HDR was kind of surreal. It felt familiar, but different. Like the same Mario Kart I had grown up with, but bigger, cleaner, and more alive. Over the next year, the Switch 2 basically became a part of my everyday life.
For downtime, travel, or just killing time without mindlessly scrolling, it became perfect. And that is why I wanted to make this video, not just to review the console, but also to look back on the year, the games that really defined 2025 for me, and a bit of 2026. So let's kick this off with the first Switch 2 game that I played, Mario Kart World.
So funny enough, I already made a shorter review for Mario Kart World when it first released, but my opinion has definitely changed, and that's a good thing, because now the recency bias has worn off and I can look at it more clearly. A new Mario Kart is something people have been wanting for a long time, and Mario Kart World absolutely checked that box. The slightly open world structure was wild at first, the connecting tracks made the game feel more alive, and the new mechanics gave it a personality that the older entries just did not have. Mario Kart has never been boring, but this game makes the older games feel a bit more static by comparison.
Mario Kart 8 leaned into a slightly realistic style with its karts, characters, and tracks. They even had a Mercedes-Benz collab in there. Mario Kart World feels more colorful, playful, and a lot more full of movement.
The tracks are the highlight here. I don't think there's a single track that feels like a complete slog. Each one adds something fresh, and with new mechanics, they stay fun for a long time. The multiplayer is also great. Playing 2-player with a new camera feels like almost one of those arcade Mario Kart games, and it adds a lot to the experience. I have a little over 80 hours in the game, and most of that time is filled with really fun memories. But here's where my opinion changed. I think I overplayed it. When the Switch 2 came out, summer had just started for me. I was working part-time, so I had a lot of free mornings and afternoons. For months, Mario Kart World was basically all I played, and then eventually I just stopped. I still play it here and there, but not like I did at launch. My biggest issue is that once you finish the main content, there's not a ton left that feels meaningful. Once you 3-star the Grand Prix Cups and Knockout Royale, you're basically just left with collecting P-switches across the map. At first, the P-switches seem like a cool idea. They are like little mini challenges scattered everywhere, but there are so many of them, and finding them all can be frustrating. The map eventually got updated to make tracking them a little easier, but it still feels like the best way to complete them is by having your phone open with a guide. And at that point, I just kind of lose interest. But to be fair, I did not buy Mario Kart to collect 400 P-switches, I bought it to play Mario Kart, and that part of the game is amazing. The lack of stronger post-game content brings it down a bit, but Mario Kart World is still one of the most important games of the Switch 2's first year, so I'm giving Mario Kart World a 7.5 out of 10.
The next game on our list is Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, and I don't even know why this is on there. It's genuinely just homework. I don't even know why I bought it, but you know, at least I have it now.
Next on the list, we have Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now this is going to be a fun one. Super Mario Odyssey is my favorite Mario game. It has the perfect mix of platforming, world building, and movement. So when Donkey Kong Bonanza was announced, and it very clearly looked like it came from the same design philosophy, I was excited. I had never fully played a Donkey Kong game before, outside of a little bit of Donkey Kong Country on the SNES. So Bonanza ended up being a very strong introduction to the franchise for me. Every layer feels unique. Some are definitely better than others, but each one has its own mechanics, ideas, and personality. Usually I play games for about an hour or two and then take a break, but this one kept me hooked for hours. I wanted to collect every banana gem, search every corner, and see what was hidden in each area. But once the game ended, I had a similar issue to the one that I had with Mario Kart World. There wasn't enough meaningful post-game content. Mario Odyssey had this problem a little bit too, but Odyssey was so much easier to milk for more time. It had a great endgame, extra challenges, and so many more moons to collect. With Donkey Kong Bonanza, the bananas did not feel as hidden or as satisfying to hunt down. Once I collected every banana, clothing piece, and music track, the only real thing left was farming coins to buy extra bananas from the shop, and I was not doing all of that.
Then Nintendo announced a $20 DLC that included Gem Rush and DK Island.
I want you to imagine if Nintendo tried to charge $20 for Odyssey DLC, and all it added was the Mushroom Kingdom with no stars and Balloon World. That's exactly what this is like.
Still, the main game is excellent, so that's why I'm giving Donkey Kong Bonanza an 8 out of 10. It would have been a 9 if the DLC felt stronger, or even a 10 if the postgame had just more to do.
Alright, next up we have a party. Okay, I'm sorry, that was really bad. We have Super Mario Party Jamboree TV. This is not really a review of Mario Party Jamboree itself. It's probably one of my favorite Mario Party games on the Switch. The Switch 2 DLC, however, is a different story. Jamboree TV basically adds 3 main things. Classic Mario Party with mouse minigames, a roller coaster mode focused on more mouse minigames, and a tag team mode. There's also a camera and microphone Bowser mode, but that one just doesn't feel too deep. For $20, I expected more. I thought maybe we could get new boards, new characters, or something that made the game meaningfully bigger. Instead, most of the new content can be seen in an hour or less outside of regular Mario Party. Mario Party and DLC have always had a weird relationship. When Mario Party Superstars came out, it felt like a no-brainer for it to receive DLC, but it ended up not getting anything.
So when Jamboree finally got DLC, I just expected Nintendo to go harder. Instead, it feels like a small collection of new modes that show off the Nintendo Switch 2's feature. And to add insult to injury, you have to buy a $50 camera on top of this. If you don't already own the game, that's another $60 plus the $20 DLC. It's just outrageous.
Bowser, please, bro. This is the most nervous I've ever been since
I'm giving the Jamboree TV DLC a 5 out of 10.
The next game we have is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a great game. It was a breath of fresh air for a franchise that, for me, had started to get a little stale. After Star Allies, I was kind of tired of the 2D Kirby formula. You move forward, suck things up, copy abilities, and repeat, but Forgotten Land changed that. The 3D levels, world map, boss fights, mouthful mode, all made the game feel fresh while still keeping the classic Kirby charm. The setting is also brilliant. A post-apocalyptic world that is colorful instead of dark and depressing is such a fun idea. I do wish the game leaned a little more into that tone throughout the whole adventure, but visually it's still gorgeous. One reason I waited until the Switch 2 version to play it was the performance. The original ran at 30 FPS, and I kept thinking, if Odyssey can run at 60, why can't Kirby? Even though I didn't know about how engines worked or anything, so I'm glad I waited. The Switch 2 version running at 60 FPS with sharper visuals makes a huge difference. Everything looks smooth, colorful, and very clean. The Waddle Dees are also very fun to collect. I like how the game encourages replaying levels without forcing you to get anything. The bosses are also surprisingly good, especially when you are trying to complete their extra challenges. My favorite bosses were the ape and the cheetah bosses, just because they required more focus and felt satisfying to beat. The collectible figurines are fine, they never really felt as rewarding to collect. The blueprints are much better because they actually upgrade your copy abilities and change their designs. That part feels genuinely rewarding. The challenge stages also get better as the game goes on. Early on they felt a little too easy, almost like roadblocks, but near the end they become much more difficult and satisfying. As for the Switch 2 DLC, I have not really played much of it yet, but from what I have, it feels very similar to the post-game. You go through levels, collect crystals, and explore new paths. It does not completely reinvent the game, but because Forgotten Land already has a strong amount of content, I don't mind it as much.
I'm giving Kirby and the Forgotten Land a 7 out of 10. The game itself is great, but it is on the shorter side. I also wish there were more collectibles and just things to do all around. Next on the list, we have Pokémon Z-A, and this review is going to contain a lot of nostalgia, so please be warned. I will always be a Pokemon fan, especially the 3DS era, as I really got into the series then. Pokemon X and Y were huge for me. I love the region, the style, the European flair that was given alongside it, the Pokemon especially. So when Pokémon Legends Z-A got announced, I was pretty intrigued, but also a little skeptical.
The biggest thing that worried me was the setting. The game takes place entirely in Lumiose City, and I kept thinking back to X and Y. Was Lumiose really big enough for a whole game? Then they showed the battle system, and I started to come around. Real-time Pokemon combat has always been something that I wanted to see. Traditional Pokemon battles can drag sometimes, so seeing Game Freak experiment with the formula was exciting. And honestly, I think the Legends series is exactly where they should be experimenting. The normal Pokemon formula will not work forever, so it is good to see them testing what works and what does not. The Wild Zones also helped ease my concerns. I thought Pokemon might just be walking around the city randomly, but the Wild Zones gave them more structure. As you progress, you unlock more zones with rare Pokemon, which kept the loop satisfying. When the game came out, I was obsessed.
I was dog sitting during Thanksgiving break, so I didn't have much to do aside from taking care of the dog and just playing Z-A.
It quickly became my most played Switch 2 game. The battle system is incredibly addictive, fights move quickly but still feel engaging, and at night the battle zones become my favorite part of the game. You only have around 20 minutes to defeat as many trainers as possible and rank up, and that loop was so fun. The story also worked better than I expected. It connects back to X and Y, especially with Z and Floette, and without spoiling anything, the ending is actually pretty beautiful for a Pokemon game. Replacing gym leaders with ranked trainers was also a nice touch. It made the battles feel more personal, like you were just two trainers trying to level up instead of checking off gyms. The music is also great. Jack in this theme especially is incredible. Customization is another highlight. There's so much close to buy. I never felt like I couldn't find a good outfit for my trainer. This was also one of the few Pokemon games where I finished the Pokédex. It is not the hardest Pokédex to do, but still, I barely do it. Now the graphics. I understand the criticism, the buildings can look rough, but I also think the trainers and Pokemon look good. And I don't really want Pokemon to be ultra realistic anyway.
And I say this as a fan of this movie. You've seen Detective Pikachu, right?
I just needed to distract you.
Yeah, literally, what was that? That would defeat the purpose of Pokemon to me. The bigger issue is that Pokemon games seem limited by their development schedules and budgets. It seems like the developers are being asked to make huge games without the time or resources those games really need. As for the DLC, I thought it was a little weird that they announced it before the game even came out, but because Z-A has a real post-game, the DLC feels more like extra content instead of missing content. And I have still not finished the DLC, but I do like that it includes an actual story and not just a time mode thrown in for the sake of it. I really enjoyed Pokémon Legends Z-A, and I don't think it deserved all the hate it got. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10.
We had a little intermission with Pokemon, but let's move on to Kirby. The next game on our list is Kirby Air Riders, and just like the course list, I will not be reviewing this for very long, and also because I didn't really play it.
Before this, I had only played Kirby Air Ride once, and I even recorded it for a little crappy video that I made. What? Oh shoot, is it taking me to the end? Wait, so I just got this bird thing. What is this? I did not love it because everything felt too fast, which probably makes you wonder why I bought Kirby Air Riders in the first place, since speed is kind of the whole point. I honestly don't know.
I was still riding that Mario Kart high, and this was a couple months after, so I was getting a little bit tired of it. My only options were Sonic Cross Worlds and Kirby, and it's pretty obvious, right? I'm making this review on it. Luckily, my birthday is in November, Scorpio, by the way, in case you're wondering. and the only thing I asked for was Nintendo gift cards.
So I only spent about $5 of my own money, which ended up being the right call because I only got around 5 hours of gameplay out of it. At first, it was exciting, but very quickly it started to feel repetitive. The two main modes are Air Ride and City Trial. Air Ride is fun and kind of feels like a Grand Prix except you're racing on individual tracks. Visually, the tracks are beautiful and the pace feels good. The customization is also deeper than I expected. Each character feels different with different specials and attacks. All the machines handle differently too. It can be hard to find the right combination of rider and machine, but I respect how much variety there is. City Trial is basically a short power-up collection mode before a final showdown. It sort of reminds me of Smash Run from Smash Bros. For 3DS. And that is where my problem comes. For $70, that package just did not feel like enough for me. I know some people absolutely love this game, and I respect that, but for me, this was just the game that made me realize that I need to stop letting into FOMO on Twitter. I need to buy the games that I actually know I will enjoy. I'm giving Kirby Air Riders a 6 out of 10. I'm sorry, Sakurai, I'm sure the next Smash will be awesome. Starting off the new year, 2026, with Animal Crossing New Horizons Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. This one's interesting. Like a lot of people, I played Animal Crossing New Horizons a lot. By the time the Switch 2 edition was announced, I had already moved on from the game. So when they announced new Switch 2 content, I was not really sure what they could add. Better visuals were expected, but New Horizons had already received DLC years ago. The Switch 2 edition added mouse mode for decorating, a megaphone, 12-player online, and a new resort hotel. That is not nothing, so for $5, it's honestly fine.
But personally, none of it was enough to pull me back in. It has been 6 years since the last Animal Crossing game came out, and I'm just tired of it. I want a new entry, and, based on the sales of New Horizons, they're gonna come out with that in the next year or so. Fingers crossed.
I'm giving the Animal Crossing Switch 2 DLC a 5 out of 10. I'm glad it was only $5, because if it was any more expensive, the rating would probably be lower.
Another thing I wasn't really planning on talking about a lot is the Virtual Boy, because honestly, nobody really expected that. I think the only thing we expected was just more games being added throughout the month, so this really kind of just made everyone question what was going on. They didn't announce any remakes or ports. I mean, I'm kind of tired of those anyway. They announced the Virtual Boy though, so I was not really ever tired of that, but also I wasn't really ever excited for that, It was kind of a gray area in the middle. Somehow, the most shocking part was the price. The Virtual Boy itself, the plastic model that they're selling, is $100, and they also had a little Google Cardboard type of thing for it. It was only $25, I ended up getting it, and I'm gonna include a gameplay of myself playing it, but because you can't capture the screen, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of a amateur workaround, so I hope you enjoy these next couple minutes. Okay, right now Mario is throwing his tennis racket at me. A ball is just going towards me, and oh, man, it just hit me in the face. Hit the ball again, almost missed that one. Hit the ball. Okay, one more time. I just hit another shot, guys. Right now it's Mario 30, Donkey Kong 0. Oh, never mind. He just scored a shot. He scored again. It's 30-30. Okay, he just won. And honestly, the games themselves are kind of rough. They feel like Game Boy Advance games trying to be mainline console ones, but they just fail, like, really bad. And some of them, like 3D Tetris for example, are just so confusing when it comes to the gameplay, the controls, the mechanics, everything about it is just weird. Let's look at the bright side here. At the same time, Nintendo is also preserving their classic games, and I have to give them respect to that. But the worst thing about it all, excluding 3D Tetris because, let's be honest, okay, I'm sorry to give so much shade, but it's the worst, is the fact that there's no way to play this without the cardboard or the headset. When you boot it up by itself, it's these just two little tiny rectangles. Obviously, you have to put the headset in and then it works fine, but aside from that, trying to play it regularly is just impossible. There's no single screen mode, nothing. It honestly feels incredibly scummy, especially since it's already a paid service, so why not just let people play what they paid for? Still though, I can't lie. Seeing Nintendo bring back the Virtual Console, completely unexpected, a little hilarious. Remember when I said Kirby Air Riders was going to be the last game to teach me about FOMO? Well, I messed up, and Kirby Air Riders was fun, okay? I mean, it had its moments, but, at the end of the day, it was entertaining. This next game, man, and I spent my own money on this. I didn't use any Nintendo gift cards or anything. Full price, by the way. It's like $50 on Amazon now. Okay, Mario Tennis Fever. Mario Tennis Fever is the next game on this list, and let's go on with the review. As a kid, I always loved tennis. Not the sport, I was not a very active kid, but the games itself, Wii Tennis, Mario Power Tennis, amazing games, phenomenal. I never got into the Mario Tennis games on the Wii U or the Switch, so I wanted to give this a try. It looked like it got the Mario Wonder makeover. You know, it looked very refreshing, colorful, and just full of innovation. I was only right about 2 parts of that. Forget the innovation part, because it is just a basic tennis game. Let's start with the good parts of this, which there are very little. Compared to Mario Tennis Aces or the Wii U one that I'm just forgetting right now, it is very beautiful. It's very colorful, and I will give it credit.
The character roster is pretty expansive, and the courts do look nice. The main tennis gameplay is fine, it's classic Mario Tennis, and that works. The problem with me is the story mode. Mario and gang get turned into babies, and they have to turn into tennis masters to turn back into normal. That's basically the setup. The first few hours lock you into this training courtyard where you train Mario and Luigi, take quizzes, learn strategies, and challenge rivals. It gets repetitive really fast. Eventually, you leave that area and travel through different lands, but each one only takes around 20 minutes. There's technically an ongoing story with Wario and Waluigi trying to sabotage you, but most of it happens through dialogue instead of cutscenes.
Mario Power Tennis and Mario Sluggers, that story mode was incredible. Literally, that one scene, I think you know what I'm talking about.
Obviously, Waluigi and Wario getting into some goofy antics, as always. Oh. Man, you don't see any of this anymore. God damn! Sometimes Bowser, he be doing too much. Oh man. He's in for a bruising. Oh my. See, they don't make them like this.
Yeah, watching that as a kid, that was peak. That was Avengers Endgame for me.
There are also multiplayer modes, including one where you swing the controller like Wii Sports Tennis, and another one that plays like classic Mario Tennis.
You know, when I wrote down that I was going to record this whole thing where I'd be showing off the Wii remote controls or whatever, I thought it would be cooler. But now that I'm doing this, it's like nothing's too crazy about it. If anything, it's kind of a little not the best, you know? Overall, this does not feel like a $70 game. This should be free. This should be given to every single citizen of the world, just because of how, man, don't get me started on this game. So that's why I'm giving Mario Power Tennis a 5.5 out of 10. And you think I would have learned my lesson about not getting FOMO on Twitter by this game. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but this sort of takes a turn for the, not for the worst, for the best. You see, Pokopia is the next game on the list here, and this review is still a little in progress, but I kind of wanted to talk about it just for a bit. You know, it did come out in the latter half of the Switch 2's first year.
I have never really played any Pokemon spin-offs, but I was intrigued when I heard this one was similar to Minecraft. And I'm not the most creative person, but this game doesn't have you worrying about making things look neat. Everything is paved out for you, and all you really have to do is add to things. Of course, you can do whatever you'd like, make bridges, homes, whatever, but if you're not into all that, you can just play it as a regular game. And I think that's the best way to do a sandbox game like this.
And for now, Pokopia is still a work in progress.
I guess Mario Wonder DLC also came out too, which honestly feels like Nintendo had one really good idea and then had to stretch it out into a $20 package. The main addition here is Bella Bell Park, which is basically a multiplayer hub world. They then also added the Koopalings back as bosses, which sound cool on paper. Some of the fights are actually really creative, but others just feel rushed or underwhelming. They also added a set of new challenge levels, which honestly ended up being my favorite part of the whole DLC. I just wish there were more of them because they're easily the most memorable part of the expansion. Now look, the thing is, I love Mario Wonder. I was already kind of biased going into this, and honestly, those two awesome amiibo that came out alongside it definitely softened the blow a little bit too. My biggest issue with the DLC is how heavily focused it is on local multiplayer rather than online play. Online only gives you about 5 activities total, 4 races and 1 hide and seek mode, which just feels incredibly limited for a multiplayer focused expansion in 2026. It's not terrible by any means, I just expected a lot more from a game as creative as Wonder. That's why I'm giving the DLC a 6 out of 10. This is more like a $10 DLC, and the fact that Nintendo didn't price it like that brings the score down a little bit.
The next game on our list is Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, and finally, back on track now. Tomodachi Life Living the Dream has been so much fun. I played the original Tomodachi Life on the 3DS, and man, I was young. I added just like random people. I had Toad, a ninja, that one burger thing, the one Mickey face that you could make. I had all those on there, and I thought it was the funniest thing ever. And now I think that the wait has been worth it. I think that now that most of the people who grew up playing that game are not able to add people that they met in person. Obviously you have friends, but coworkers, managers, professors, I mean, anything really. And so when this game was coming out, I, wrote down a list of of almost every character I was going to add, fictional or not. Obviously you have Saul Goodman, Walter White, Jesse. Once the demo came out, I played it and I started adding my friends and and you know, I was fine with that. I think I'm very easily entertained from seeing my friends cause drama, fall in love, go on dates, start fights. I have a lot of fun with that, and I don't really need to add any more fictional characters, especially since I have 23 right now, and feeding all of them is, man, that takes like an hour. Anyways, aside from the whole demo nonsense, when the whole game came out, I was very pleased.
For the next month, and even now, I played it almost every morning. I collect coins from the fountain, check the grocery and clothing stores, buy new food and outfits, and feed all 23 of my Miis. I also think I needed a life sim that was this simple. I never fully got into games like The Sims because it just felt too complex. Tomodachi Life is a perfect middle ground. It's easy to check in on, easy to play for a few minutes, and perfect on a portable system. My main critique is that once you make your Miis and customize your island, you kind of just have to wait for things to happen. I'm mostly okay with that, it is a part of the charm, but after a month or so, you kind of feel like you're at a standstill. Kinda makes you just want to do random stuff like build the Krusty Krab or I don't know.
So that's why I'm giving Tomodachi Life Living the Dream a 7.5 out of 10. But now to wrap this all up with a very nice bow. Looking back at the year, the Switch 2 had a bit of a complicated, but you know, at the end of the day, it had a fun year. The console launched with a price controversy, pre-order chaos, and a lot of questions about where Nintendo was going to head. But once the games started coming out, it became very clear that the Switch 2 was not trying to reinvent the wheel or start a revolution. Do you get the joke? Okay, I thought about that for a long time. It was trying to make the Switch feel stronger, better, and more complete. Not every game was amazing. Not every game was reasonably priced. Looking at you, Mario Kart World, and Mario Tennis Fever, man, why is it only Mario? Some felt very light on content, and some reminded me that I need to stop getting FOMO from Twitter. I think it's my algorithm. I need to make it not recommend me every game that has come out. It's not just Nintendo. But overall, this year gave me a lot of great memories. Playing Mario Kart for the first time and playing it for the first couple months was insanely fun. Doing DK Bananza and trying to find all the banana gems reminded me of being young and playing Mario Odyssey, and it was a lot of fun. Then Pokémon Z-A, staying up all night and completing the Pokédex. So if this is year 1, I'm excited to see where Nintendo is heading. And hopefully by year 2, I will have learned to not let FOMO take control of my wallet. Probably not though. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. This is one of my first couple videos on this channel. I did some reviews in the past, and they were, I don't know, I do want to kind of record more videos, so leave a like, comment, feel free to subscribe as well. I want to try to get a video out once a week or once every 2 weeks. Thanks for watching again.